myself, joined by the Moon Man,
Great
Eric
to
Moon.
see you again.
Great to see you as well. It's been a busy day, but we finally are sitting down to talk a little UND hockey.
Yeah.
And this is one, I feel like I've had this weekend circled on my calendar since the schedule came out. UND taking on DU, and it's always a great rivalry, but talk about an awesome matchup.
Yeah, this is a great matchup every year, but then you add in the fact that it's top 10 matchup and that Denver is #1 in the country, defending national champs. Since the last time UND played Denver, Denver's just gone on an absolute roll, and that has continued into this year after winning 9 straight to, I believe they won the conference and to win the national championship last year. And then you win 10 straight to start the year. They're playing some really good hockey right now, but to get them this early in the season in the conference slate in their own building, this is going to be quite the series for UND and a great chance for them to kind of tell the country, hey, 2 weeks after what was a rough series against Cornell, 2 weeks later, this is what UND hockey really is.
Well, it's talk about an awesome opportunity. And UND, I feel like even one of those series, you can kind of throw the records out the window. They always play each other super tough. And UND had some success against them last year as well.
3 of 4, and they won both games at the Ralph. So UND played Denver really well last season, and we'll see if it translates.
Now, we talked about that Cornell series, touching on that. And we talked about health. Health has been an issue. How healthy is the team looking now as they prepare for the Pioneers?
They're the same as they were last week.
Okay.
So last week, a lot of the guys that were injured, the one player that came back was Cameron Berg. Obviously a huge player for them to get back for Duluth, and he was a big part of that one of many big parts of the success that UND had at Duluth over the weekend. And by the way, Cameron Berg against Denver last year, 5 goals in those 4 games.
Okay.
So he's one of those returning guys that's going to help this team a lot, not just in terms of their performance on the ice, but helping the younger guys get ready to play against a team like Denver because they know how to win against a team like Denver. So, but again, everybody else that was out last weekend, so that would be 3 defensemen, Bennett Zamolik, Andrew Strathman, Tanner Komzak, along with forward Cody Kroll. They are all out again. And as we saw last week, Caleb Johnson is still out indefinitely, the third goalie for UND.
That's definitely going to present an extra challenge. I feel like you need all the defensemen that you can have on the ice when you're taking on the Pioneers. What do you think the game plan is, if you will, to kind of weather the storm? Because that's going to be a tremendous challenge.
UND is going to play their game. Let's just put it that way. They're not going to worry too much about what Denver's going to throw at them. You have to think about it and prepare for it, but they're going to play their game. That's what UND is going to do, and they want that fast start that they got against Duluth in both games last weekend. And that was a big part of that's been a big factor in UND's games this year. Brad Berry talked about it today. It was in the games they've won, they've gotten ahead. In the games they've lost, they've fallen behind early. That's a huge part of a hockey game. They're the ebbs and flows of it, but if you get that fast start, you can play with the lead and play well with the lead as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then you don't have to necessarily get as aggressive like we've seen towards the end of the game. They're able to play their way back into games. It's always better to be playing with the lead. What were some of the key X factors and keys to the game plan that Coach Barry was going over today at the press conference for you?
Yeah, like I said, I think it was just playing their game and keeping that momentum going from the Duluth weekend. They really liked how they played against Duluth. It wasn't just the result of getting a 7-3 win on Friday night and then a 4-1 win on Saturday. It was about the way they played as well. And they actually liked the way they played going back to Cornell. They liked the way they played against Cornell.
I remember him saying that. I thought that was interesting.
They couldn't, obviously that was a tough weekend on the score sheet, but they thought they played pretty well against Cornell, and the way they played against Duluth was obviously even better. So, and they got the results this time. So they're trying to play the right way, and that's a really good focus to have this early in the season because we're still a little more than a month in. This is a long road. This is a marathon of a season. You want to be playing your best hockey in March, so focusing on how well you are playing right now versus how well your opponent is playing in November is obviously the strategy to take for UND.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit about Denver. What makes them tick? What makes them, obviously we talked about some of the win streaks and how effective they've been, but why have they been so good? What makes them so dangerous?
Well, they're just playing good hockey. They pretty much have carried over what they did last year at the end of the season in the playoffs and carried it over into this year with a lot of the experience that they have. I believe it was Sam Harris and Matt Davis that were named, got NCHC honors this week. Jake Levinovich, by the way, NCHC Defenseman of the Week with his 5 assists, and then the other 2 honors go to Denver. So Sam Harris gets 3 goals in 2 games against Lindenwood, and then Matt Davis was just fantastic, 41 saves and 43 shots throughout the whole weekend. But I mean, you got the numbers up right here. They just are piling on the points.
Just insane to look at the points column. How many guys are over 10 points?
17, 13, 13, 13. That's a lot of guys that are north of point per game players right now. And keep this in mind too. Their schedule has been much lighter than UND. They've only played 1 ranked opponent, and that's number 19 Northeastern so far. So that's the interesting part of this with Denver. It's been a little bit, I hate to say easier, because winning at any level of college hockey is very hard to do.
Sure.
But it has been an easier stretch through non-conference play and the start of NCHC play for Denver than it has been for UND, because UND absolutely loaded that non-conference schedule. Denver, it was much lighter.
And I think it's fair to talk a little strength of schedule, because, it's so hard to go undefeated at any sport, but I feel like hockey is one of the sports that is the most hard to have the kind of start that
it's downright
Denver's
impossible.
been. To be 10-0 in hockey is just kind of crazy. But when you look, they sweep Alaska Anchorage, Northeastern, as you mentioned, sweep Wisconsin.
They moved up into 20, but they were unranked, I believe, at the time when they played them.
Yeah, and so this is, as much as you can talk about a tremendous test for North Dakota, it looks like this is going to be the first real big test. They've had some tests when you talk about Lindenwood and you talk about Northeastern in Wisconsin, but this is going to be a gauntlet for Denver, and it's a good chance to test their mettle. And I feel like it's also just one of those things where everyone knows how hard it is to play at the Ralph.
Yeah. But everyone also knows how hard it is to play against Denver, especially the way they're playing right now. So the Pios know what they're going up against this weekend. They know that they had trouble in the Ralph last year, got swept by UND. They know that this is going to be the best team they will face in the first 2 months of the year, roughly. I haven't seen who they play after Arizona State, which is who they play next. But this is going to be some of their toughest hockey they're going to play in the first 2 months of the season. But David Carl is going to have his guys ready to go. There's no doubt about that, and I think we're going to see 2 all-out battles this weekend. That's the one thing we know for sure. Throw out the records, as you said. These are 2 teams that are going to bring it on Friday and Saturday night. Yeah,
and I'm sure for UND, the mission is always to be the best. And to be the best, you got to beat the best.
Yes.
And so just a tremendous opportunity here awaits them within that challenge that is the Denver Pioneers. And, I feel like that's all. Now we just kind of got to wait till the matchup. Is there anything else you want to touch on as far as that matchup goes before we get into previewing your latest showcase on individual players?
Not a whole lot to add. I'll just say, again, Denver, UND, it's must-watch hockey every time they face each other. So to get this early in the season is pretty fun to watch. And I know Friday and Saturday night is going to be must-see viewing.
I got my tickets 2 months ago for this game. I had
there you go.
And so it's going to be a great one. And I had a feeling Denver would still be number 1 in the country. And so just a great opportunity for fans. This is this is one you want to go to. If there's still tickets available, this is one you want to go to.
This is the undisputed number 1 team in the country, even though Boston College exists. And that says something about how good Denver has been, not only at the end of last season, but carrying it over into this year. You don't get a chance to see the #1 team in the country this often.
And I know a lot of people are going to have their eyes locked on, Davies v. Cheyenne Friday night for the big state title game in the Fargo Dome. But, hey, time to get up to Grand Forks.
I've got my eyes on a few different places on Friday.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. What a great weekend for sports. And we're going to talk more about that with Devin tomorrow, some of the high school football stuff. But just to provide those times for everybody watching here, 7:07 puck drop on Friday, and then 6:07 puck drop on Saturday. Denver coming to the Ralph. And so who's next? Eric, you've done some excellent work. Who's up?
Yeah, we've got a couple of players left here to spotlight. We've been doing this on Thursdays on Valley News Live at 6. Next up, Caleb McDonald.
Okay.
The Alaska transfer, one of the key young defensemen for UND, and even before the defensive group was hindered by injuries, out of their 9 defensemen, only 2 were upperclassmen already. So the defensemen are already a younger group, and Caleb McDonald is kind of a key part of that, coming over from Alaska Fairbanks. Devin won't want me to say just Alaska, but the Fairbanks part is important.
Specifically want to say Fairbanks,
especially since we talked about Alaska Anchorage briefly,
Yeah.
because Denver has played them. But McDonald is stepping in as one of those key defensemen. He's played on that top pairing quite a bit as well, and we'll talk about how he's kind of part of an emerging pipeline in a way.
I've noticed that a lot
Alaska defensemen coming over to UND.
And Max Swanson's Alaska too. Obviously not a defenseman, but isn't he from Alaska as well?
He's from Alaska,
So
but he didn't come from Alaska Fairbanks.
Sure.
That's the difference here. So
okay, very
Chris
good.
Jandrick came over from the Nanoks in 2021.
Okay.
Garrett Pike played here last year.
Okay.
And now Caleb McDonald is the 3rd Alaska defenseman specifically to transfer to UND in the last 4 years. He chose to go his own route, by the way. The other 2 wore number 7. He wore number 13.
Okay.
Number 7 is Max Swanson's jersey number, by the way.
Of course.
So there's quite an Alaska in connection to that. But we'll kind of delve into that about Caleb McDonald, him coming over from Alaska, even scoring twice against North Dakota last year.
Wow.
Here at the
How
Ralph.
about that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll delve into some of that and how much he's enjoying playing here.
And I just pulled up his profile here, and obviously you're going to get a better idea for this when people watch the package. But one thing that stands out, this guy's built like an NFL middle linebacker. 6'3", 224. This guy a bruiser or what?
A big defenseman that can move.
Okay.
That's for sure. And he's got quite the shot, too. I just saw a clip today of one of his goals at Alaska. Not the 2 they scored against North Dakota, but one of the other 2. Just an absolute one-time shot from the right circle.
Oh, that
if
sounds
you can
excellent.
Get it open.
Okay.
UND has a lot of weapons, but McDonald can get it on net, too.
Okay, very good. We'll be looking forward to that one. That's tomorrow night. That'll air. Well, excellent, my friend. As we said, Devin's going to be joining me tomorrow. A lot of Dakota Bull talk.
Yes,
but for now, that's what it is. We got the biggest college hockey game in the country just an hour north of us.
Yeah.
And so we'll be there.
It's going to be fantastic.
You'll be there Saturday, I
Yes.
assume. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll see you there.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Awesome. And we'll see you there, too. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Valley News Now.